good. Yeah.
All right, Guru Nation, you already know what time it is. Well, you may not know it. This is not live, so you don't know what time it is. But it's figure of speech because you know who is on right now with me, okay? It's Ashley Margot from, I mean, she's like from all over, but let's just start with like Latinos in clinical research. Let's
Most important
start
ones.
most important ones first. Latinos in clinical research, CRA Academy internship instructor slash CV prepper slash interview prepper. We're gonna get into that CRC Academy as well, and then she also works for one of the big CROs. If that wasn't enough for her to do, she works for one of the big CROs. She's a remote site monitor, which are amazing.
Senior,
Actually,
senior.
see, my bad. My bad. Okay, so senior remote site monitor. I didn't even know there was such a thing. So maybe we start there.
Yeah.
Like, there's this I've been noticing since I started this channel, which is like 12 years now. There is this tendency to overlook all these other jobs
Mhm.
and just think of CRA, CRC, PI. Like, people think that's all there is.
Mm-mm.
And that's just the beginning, like, those are the household names because those are probably the most public facing ones. Like, patients know coordinators if they do studies,
Mhm.
patients know PIs, and then basically everybody knows CRAs because it's, like, brand name for making a lot of money and
Yeah.
traveling but, like, there's so many jobs, like, even I don't know them all.
Mhm.
Ashley doesn't know them all, but she's a RSM and she
Mhm.
does a lot of coaching, getting people into other kind of roles, not necessarily RSM or remote site monitor. But
Mhm.
maybe we'll start with that. Like, why do people overlook these things?
Well, I mean, we can take it back to like instant gratification. Oh, so sorry. Do you hear my dog?
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
it's good.
okay. One moment. Let me close the door. So instant gratification. So what I mean by that is that when individuals are trying to get a job or look for a job, a lot of the times it's eagerness, right? Whether the situation is dire or just because they just want to out of the job, right? And when all that is perfectly fine and understandable. But the thing is, really, is there's a few things you want to consider. One, you want to consider, are you aligned with that company? Because we all know in research that not every company is always great to work with. The pay might be great, but the workload and the work to home ratio is very, very off, right? And so if you're going to get paid, obviously you're going to get the heavy work, but you still want to have a life, right? So there's that. And then the other thing is also ensuring that you know exactly where you're going. Now when people look into research that are barely new into the industry, they go with the names that you just talked about, right? The titles. The problem is that there's so many roles out there. There's also clinical trial coordinator, which CRCs can apply to if they're not, if they feel a little bit self-conscious or a little bit unconfident about their jump to CRA role. CTC is the same role of a CRC, however it's virtual.
CTC. Hold up.
Clinical trial coordinator.
So that's not the same thing as clinical research coordinator?
I
Even I
mean,
don't
it
know
is,
this stuff.
yeah, it is in certain sense. CTCs are used for certain things more specifically, and coordinators depending where you're coming from. Like if you're a general site coordinator, like generalist, you do a lot. But if you're coming from academy and you only do like CRC data and regulatory, you might be more aligned with the CTC. So again, there's a lot of things to consider, but the point being is that there are so many roles out there. And one of the great things about Latinos in clinical research, which you guys, if you're not already joined, join. We're open to all ethnicities. We're free. It's free content from the heads of big companies. One person to quote, we had Brenda Medina from Metadata, who's VP.
Love her.
Okay.
Love her.
Yeah, amazing. Well, she said, just because you have no experience or direct experience in that field and you feel like you don't meet the entire qualifications of the application doesn't mean you shouldn't apply, even if you've never had that particular title before. It's all in the description of the job. And now something that I like to tell my clients that I have is that understand that the people that are creating the description don't necessarily always put the full details. For example, I won't say any names, but I am aware of a company, right, that had put up a job and the description had been placed up. When I asked about this particular job and I reached out to somebody and I asked the details, it almost didn't match the description entirely. I even told the person, the recruiter, like, "Are y'all crazy?"
Who's
You
doing
guys.
this? Like, why are they
Huh?
doing that? It's just lazy?
Well, I don't know. I guess I mean, I really don't know the processes, so I don't wanna say why,
Oh,
and that's why I'm not mentioning the company's name, but
okay.
I spoke to the recruiter and I was just like, "Why are you doing this?" I was looking at that role and I was just like, "Wow, that I could probably do that." But then when I got the description in person or verbally, it did not match, and they acknowledged that. They said they understood, and completely across the top of my head. Now, the great thing about that was that because I asked, I got all the details about the job, and I actually knew somebody that fit that role that was looking for work. So I told that person to go that route. And when they looked, they said, "Well, I don't want to apply to that job. I don't fit that description." Right. And I said, "Yeah, no, I know, but that's not what it's about. I just spoke to the recruiter." So again, you can't always be fully set in on, okay, if the full description, if I don't fit it, it's not for me. Like, if it's something that you want to do and you know you can do it, you're going to be trainable. They're not going to take you and just put you in the job. Understand, you're still going to go through a process. So my thing that I say is that if one, go through all the job listings, right? Even if the names don't sound, if they sound too big, like too much responsibility, doesn't matter. Don't underestimate your capabilities and what your skill sets are, right? One, two is that if you don't meet all the qualifications, but you meet a good chunk of them, I say still apply, right? Because statistically speaking, the more that you apply, the higher
What's a good
amount.
chunk? What's a good chunk for you?
What do you mean chunk?
Like you said, even if you don't meet all the qualifications, but let's say you meet some of a good chunk of them.
So, so one thing that I see, for example, very often is when they say require a bachelor's degree, and they won't say specifically, "Oh, we're considering, or equivalent work experience." From my understanding, the economy right now and the need for people in this industry is so huge. And on top of that, some of these companies still don't get a lot of applicants, right? And I'm also talking about mid-level companies, not just the big CROs and sponsors, right? So my thing is, if you meet at least 3 or 5 years of that experience or a vast amount of that experience, I say still play even if you don't have a bachelor's. Why? Because you don't know if they have people with bachelors that have no experience. So you're gonna be competitive, right? Because we know in the industry right now, just because you
Wait,
don't
wait,
have your.
say that again.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Yeah.
You actually, you're like so much like, okay, this is great, but I gotta rewind it back. So
Yeah.
what you just said, say it one more time.
So if you're applying to a job that only states that they require a bachelor's only, right? But you don't have a bachelor's, but you do have 3 to 5 years background experience. I'd say, screw them, still apply because they don't know what they want, right?
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
they don't know what they need. They just need an applicant. So you're going to apply. You may be coming up against other people that have bachelors, but these people may not have 3 to 5 years experience, which in this industry, what is gold is the experience or exposure to transfer that skill set, right? So you may not have that direct experience in, let's say, data management, but you have plenty of experience supervising data efficiency, data quality, which clearly you can transition that over. Again,
Do
it's
you think
just.
they do that on purpose? Like the
No,
job
I
the
don't
recruiters?
think. No, I just think the problem there, it's not the recruiters, it's the communicate. I mean, this is again me not knowing how the process goes. I'm being very open about that.
But
I
you're
don't know
learning
how.
every month. You're learning more. You're getting more data.
Yeah, 100%. So what I'm thinking, what I feel the situation is from some of the recruiters that I've spoken to is that obviously the recruiters don't know the job, so they go and they speak with those department heads or the people that are heading that team, etc., and what they need. So I feel in between that space, there's a disconnect in the communication of what needs to be had from the personnel as to what's actually placed on paper. And honestly, what I feel that should be a new evolution to this, change in addressing the workforce is also considering the individuals that are coming in. So if you have these companies that are saying, well, we want to be diverse and we understand that these diverse communities, right? Not everybody is able to afford, to go to school and get a bachelor's, right? But they have this experience and we want to make use of this experience. Great. Well, then let's also bring down the verbiage a little bit because I mean, I have a bunch of experience and even some of these descriptions I read, I'm like, okay, they could have easily just said, need to communicate with team on a weekly basis about reports, but they want to say, need to fundamentally extract reports, da, 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 bigger verbiage.
That's nonsense. Why do they do that?
It's it,
Did
I
you
don't
see Brad
know.
Hightower's post on LinkedIn? He posted an example of one of his job posting. Brad Hightower, I'm going live with him and Dr. Fox November 1st.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, that dude's awesome. But he posted this like because he's looking for a coordinator,
Hmm.
but just like me and any other small research site owner, any size research clinic for that matter, we know like coordinator don't fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
So we look to groom our own, so we basically hire for talent. That's how I have
Yeah.
Desiree and Katie, like those Guru Nation might know them. Um, they were not trained coordinators. They were raw talent. I found Brad's post was awesome. He put something like a story of him, how he started in clinical research from a phlebotomist. So he wrote a story about how
Good.
he got started, and he said it was really effective. So why don't like
Because
bigger companies do that?
you're giving people the opportunity to see the potential they have for that role.
Yes.
That's where it is. You're taking somebody who's already starting at level 1, whether it's, they're coming from another country, right? And concerned that they're not worth it or worth enough or they're going to be valued, right? Where you're having people that are coming out of college that don't know what they're doing, that are scared. I was one of them, but I was also very, I would say, ballsy. I didn't care. I applied to like 100 and some applications. I didn't care. But and then you have individuals that are leaving a job that probably mistreated them, undervalued them, underpaid them, and are very nervous because sometimes people verbally get told, "You're not going to get anywhere. You're going to get paid the same." I know people that were told that. So you're taking individuals that are starting from 0, if not 5, 10%, that are scared, that are nervous, that don't know where to go, and or they want to also know that they're going to be nurtured at that place, right? Because a lot of the situation is they're leaving from another job that wasn't nurturing them and their growth, right? So if you're doing something like Brad Hightower, where he's telling his story and he's saying how he got there, you're giving somebody the opportunity to say, "Oh wow, I could actually do that. I didn't know I could do that," right? Again, why we have LICR and why we
Mhm.
have the University of Clinical Research, because we're there to show, teach, and literally bring these possibilities to fruition to people that had no idea. And so, again, what I always say to when we interview these individuals from CROs and sponsors, and what I try to say all the time, no matter what chance I get, is that if you are using the same methods, you are not going to make change, right? You cannot stay in the box. You have to get out of the box. And the problem with that is that you are taking individuals that are groomed in this company, in these companies, and so they're doing the same approach that you're grooming them for. So you have to look outside the box, maybe partner with other people and see what can be useful, right? And so again,
It only makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
if we're in a labor short, okay, so this is a good segue. Are we still in a labor shortage in clinical research?
I think so long as there's growth, yes. I mean, I don't.
Are you seeing growth at your CRO right now?
Oh yeah,
October
yeah.
2022.
I can tell you since the pandemic, probably over 2,000 people have been hired. Like it's been insane. The growth has been massive, and they're still
Has the growth
hiring.
slowed down recently?
Um,
It's October 2022 for those watching in the future.
I don't know. I don't think it's slowed down. I think it's also important that people understand the process of hiring and like, the subsections of the year, right? So I always try to tell my clients that if you're going to apply, do your best, especially if you want to negotiate. Um, do your best to do it sometime prior to November, because by that time at the end of the year, they're already expanding their budget. They've maxed out. So if they're going to all give you an offer letter, there's not really going to be much room for negotiation. However, if you apply in December and you get called in January or February, they're going to be fresh in the budget. So they're going to be willing and open and able to maneuver those negotiations. Should your application and also the way that you sell yourself in the interview, right? Should that be worth it to them, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of I do think that there's still growth. But obviously towards the end of the year it slows down a little bit. So those of you that are applying and you take a while to hear back, don't get, discouraged. Um, that's
Yeah,
just the
they give up
process.
so much.
Yeah, no, no. Like for me, when I applied, I started in December And I remember I was in Colorado. I'm still in Colorado right now, but I was in Colorado for vacation, and I was still applying like crazy. The chances that I got, and I didn't start getting calls till the end of January when I actually met you for the first time. Um, and that's when I started getting all these calls. It took about a month to
Oh,
two
this was
months
January
later.
2020, right before the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right before the pandemic, and then I got the last official CRO response. I applied to my company in December. I didn't get a response till March, and then pandemic officially hit, and I didn't get the final interview
Mm.
till May, and then I didn't transfer in until June. So
I
it
remember
takes,
that. I remember
yeah,
that
it
time.
takes a while, and that's the thing. It's just like another thing I tell my clients is if you are going to be doing your best to get into CRO sponsor, if you are in a place where you have to get hired immediately, fine, apply, but know that the process takes a while, especially if you're going for the most common roles, right? So if that is the case, do apply to smaller ones on the side, maintain yourself in the meantime. It's not going to end all. You're just maintaining yourself financially and getting experience and optimally actually even utilizing the resources that that smaller company is giving you, like training and all these sorts of things. So once you do get the actual interview for the CRO sponsor, that naturally is going to have a higher starting pay bracket range or whatever, you're going to come in with more experience and more training, so now you're going to feel more comfortable in that interview. And then on top of that, you can use that as a negotiating factor to probably even raise your pay higher than what you would have initially did if you hadn't had something maintaining you in the meantime. Right.
Yeah.
So it's about strategy. It's never about, oh, I need to get hired, this or that. You're gonna get hired. If you have persistence, you're gonna get hired. I've worked with people that were dance teachers that got in the industry, okay? Like it happens. You just have to be persistent, and you can't persistent and consistent, right? So and at that point is how you maneuver from that, right? It's just strategy. I feel like when people start somewhere, they get stuck and they're like, okay, well, I guess, this is my opportunity. Let me just wave it out. It's like, no, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want to do it. You just have to be the one to see that, right? And to take advantage of that. Um, and again, with my clients, most of it, honestly, a good chunk of what I'm doing is showing them this aspect while I'm giving them the skill set and helping boost the confidence, because a lot of it is a confidence issue, coming in and not knowing. So
Okay, so there's different levels to this, and in the CRA Academy and in the CRC Academy, you host the internship sessions for both, and you're seeing in that in that academy, you're already dealing with, like in our CRA Academy, you're already dealing with graduates of our course, so they already understand the fundamentals. So you don't have to start like with that because
yeah,
even before someone contacts you, they need to learn the fundamentals first.
yeah, hmm,
Okay, after that, they contact you. You see whether it's somebody who is brand new to the industry or whether it's somebody who's been in the industry for years. There's always similar interview kind of questions, and a lot of
hmm,
them in our industry focus around organization. So,
hmm.
can you talk a little bit about how important it is to have a good strategy for answering these type of questions and any other questions they might ask?
Yeah. So there's two types of ways, right? When you say organization, it's like, oh yeah, I'm very organized. I like to make notes. I have a calendar, yada yada yada. Most people have that, especially if you're an adult. If you don't, definitely start using a calendar. But um, there's that version of organization, and then there's the organization in the viewpoint of research, of a monitor, of a CRC or a CTA, right? Because you're going to use organizational tools, and you're going to have a certain approach in how you handle the site, how you handle the subjects, how you handle certain scenarios and situations, escalations, etc., in a timely manner. And you're going to be able to use and manipulate your organizing tools to help not only execute those things on a timely basis, but also to ensure that things are flowing, and you as a CRC, CTC, or CRA are able to manage your role very efficiently and ultimately leveling you up as a personnel with the CRO or at the site, right? So that's the difference between organization. I think, this is why I personally don't like individuals using YouTube mock trial questions and things like that because one
We
you don't
hate
know the
those YouTubers.
yeah. I mean, well, the thing is, you don't know their background, one. Two, I mean, of course, there's going to be really great responses, but you need somebody that's already in the industry that knows exactly what they're looking for. And also, you need to be able to know somebody that can break down your skill sets
Mm.
specifically to your background and how you can maneuver those questions to that answer that also correlates to the role, right? And
And
that's
that's
where,
that's a niche you discovered
yes,
teaching our interns. You
yeah.
said, "Hey, you know what? I can do this for anybody. It doesn't have to be interns. Our interns get it for free, although you have different packages.
Mhm.
We can get into some of that, but you're helping people do this all the time now."
Yeah, and again, it's just we're all thinking a certain way because again, we're just taught a certain way and things like that. It's about strategy, it's the approach and how you're correlating everything, right? Because it's not about okay, well, yeah, I was a monitor for this, and this. You don't have to be a monitor, or you don't have to be a CRC in the past. It's being able to eloquently and straightforward and very quickly respond to the answer in the most efficient way possible, but also making sure that you're getting all your personal and particular skill sets out there that are your strengths and making sure that they see the relevance to the role in that, right? And this is again why I don't like the interviews on YouTube and things like that because or just general coaches that
Yeah.
don't have the research background because if that is the case they're going to try to give you the focus on, let's say, oh yeah, you want to make sure that they know that you're organized and that maybe you have an analytical viewing things because you need to be analytical. Well, yes, but if that person doesn't have that, they're going to sniff that out in the interview right away. Like it's going to look disingenuous, right? You're not genuine. And
Mhm.
so, you want to be your most authentic self in the best way possible because you're telling your story. And when you're telling your own story and not doing it in a way that is already like mapped out, you're doing it in your own way, it is more fluid, you come off more confident. I mean, there's just so many benefits to that, but you need somebody to sit with you and break it down for you, right? So that's kind of the importance of doing mock trial interviews. More than one, obviously, but most people just do one. So, but yeah.
The best mock interview you can do is apply for a bunch of jobs, go do some real interviews, consider it your mock interview, that way there's no pressure, and then improve every time. Like, that I get asked to make these, like, mock interviews all the time. We can't do it. We can't do it, like, generically. Those situation, task, action, respond, yeah, those are real, but they're gonna ask you that based off of your resume and what they see on there.
Yeah, 100%. The only thing that I do think is beneficial about mock interviews with somebody is that if they record it and that you're able to have that recording, you can watch yourself in playback. You start to notice your own flaw sets, right? So as opposed to just getting somebody else's feedback, which usually if you're doing an interview and you ask for feedback, they say, yeah, you did great. Just, work on the interview skills. It's like, okay, but what?
Mm.
Um, so that's the only facts that I would think about that, especially because most people just want to get through the interviews and get the job right away. So that's why I find those helpful, right? But you need somebody to really break it down and also be able to correlate off of your resume and not just question your questions and your answer responses. Look at your resume and say, why didn't you focus on this one instead, right? Because based off of the company and what they're looking at, this would make more sense, right? Or whatever. So that's why it's important, I think, to have somebody that you speak and consult with to do that breakdown for you.
And that's why the AM approach exists. That's why the CRA Academy exists, the University of Clinical Research exists. I had this is anecdotal, but somebody, that took our course,
Hmm.
CRA Academy, I won't even say he or she,
Hmm.
they got hired by a major CRO, and they just told me the other day, this major CRO has their own training program,
Hmm.
and it's like they can't believe that that's their training program after taking something like ours. So it shows you, like, there's a need for these third party private label training programs, like, that are actually taught by people who deal with this stuff on a daily basis, much like the AM approach, which is your company. You can tailor and like you said, provide real feedback to interview, like how somebody did in an interview, because you're not really ever gonna get real feedback like in a real interview. They're just
Mhm.
gonna tell you, "Oh," like you said, "work on your interview skills," but they're not. I mean, has anyone ever told you, like, what specifically? Like, do they even want to tell you?
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, I mean, they're taking notes, but they're not there to really analyze what you could do better. They're just there to say, okay, well, she missed this or he missed that. And you know what? Somebody else did this better. So they're just marking you, right? Which is fine and understandable because these individuals, line managers, hiring managers, whatever, they're going through multiple people a week and their job, right? So, I don't also think it's bad that they don't do that because that's already asking a lot of them unless, they're gonna hire the pay or something. But this is again why if I feel it's the responsibility of the person to be real about, okay, how bad do I want this? Do I want this now or am I willing to wait, right? If you want it now, you need to utilize your resources and get coached. Like you have to be prep, right? Because if not, you're going to get all these interviews and you're going to start, smacking them down, right? Because you're not hitting the parts that you want just because you assumed, let's say if you come from the clinical industry, you always do great there. Well, it's not the same industry. It's correlated, but it's not the same industry. They're looking for different things, and I know because I came 10 years of that and it was very different for me. So,
Mm,
again, every industry is different. Don't assume you know everything. I think confidence is a great thing, but cockiness in knowing
mm,
that you'll be okay, not so much, right? I think, especially if you've had two or three interviews and you don't get pushed through, something you're doing is wrong. And you need somebody to help you through that unless you're willing to, again, extend it, wait, and hopefully you mark it right. Okay. So
yeah.
that's
You
that's kind
know,
of
another
where
thing I noticed with
Mhm.
a lot of people having issues, um, they try to overly impress the interviewer.
Yeah.
I've noticed this a lot now from people messaging me on LinkedIn, like, and they're telling me they're having problems. So I actually get into like LinkedIn conversations with them,
Mhm.
and they are like sending me back like paragraphs of
What
what they're
happened?
doing and why they think no one's. But the more I interact with these people, the more I'm like, this person is just trying to impress me too much. Like, I think there is a fine line between confidence and humility. I don't
Mhm.
know how to articulate better what like this type of personality, but there's a lot of them trying to break
Yes.
in.
Again, like I said, it's the eagerness, right? And again, completely valid, right? Especially when you're in a situation where you need a job. Like completely valid, but always remember that regardless of the situation, you need to all you owe it to yourself to make sure that that company fits you. So when you're in an interview, yes, let them ask the questions, yes, be open and all that stuff, but don't be thinking all the time and those things like that because yes, you're going to stand out, but you're going to be standing out in a certain light. You just want to say thank you when you need to say thank you, be appreciative, obviously, when you should be appreciative, answer the questions, all those good things. But at the end, make sure that you're holding them accountable, right? Ask them, like, do you guys do bonuses at the end of the year? How often do you elevate somebody if they're meeting their markers and merits, right? Are you holding up the culture of your company and really standing right beside your employees, right? Are you doing everything you can to provide the education if needed, should you not even be in the role and you just want to learn? Right? Those are the things I asked. I was very clear with the company I'm at now. I one of the things that I mentioned at the end was I'm very huge in conferences. I'm very huge in education. The problem with my last company that I had was that there wasn't room for growth. I like to learn and I like to get ahead much quicker than most people. And because I'm like that, it's important that I have a company that is very organized and that can give me the opportunity that I can take on my own. Right. And they said, well, yeah, we have all these academies. And so I went deep into letting them know what it is that I needed. Right. And it's not you saying, well, you're not enough or whatever. You're just being open about your needs to make sure that you meet back and forth. It's like dating, you're being open about where you're at, they're being open about where they're at, and you're only going to get so far if you're just clear, not being say, "Oh yeah, whatever you need and I'll do whatever you want." And you know, how about 50,000 a year for an RSM role or CRA1 role, and you're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'll do whatever. It's like, no, that's low pay. You're getting
Mm.
lowballed. You're getting underappreciated. You know, you'll get a better opportunity somewhere else, kind of a thing. Hold your ground. Don't be over bending or however you want to say it.
All right, 2 more topics
Yeah.
before we end this interview because these could be like 5 hours.
Oh, my caffeine right now.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's good. I had mine in the morning. Okay. First one, advice to people for how to even start searching for jobs. Because that's a question I get a lot. Like, how do I know what to search for or where to go?
So first off, you never want to run before, like, you never want to run before you can walk or crawl, however they say it, right? Make sure you have the foundation set. You have your resume good, right? Whether you can reserve services or not for that, that's fine, but just make sure you're doing your research online. There's plenty of templates out there for you. Get your resume in and good. Make sure you have a LinkedIn profile because, I'm not one that likes LinkedIn, to be quite honest. I'm on it because I
Mhm.
have to be with everything we're doing, but LinkedIn is the key now, right? Recruiters are on there all the time vetting people. So if you really want to jumpstart, get a LinkedIn profile.
That's
There's a
for
way
all
to
you
do it.
TikTokers out there saying you
Yeah.
wanna get a job in the industry and don't have a LinkedIn.
Yeah, you need a LinkedIn. You need one, especially like the professional setting CRO sponsor. No matter how much they're trying to innovate and get in the end, they're very much still on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's one. Once you have those set, and there's a way to do it. So if you reach out to me for those services, happy to do it. If not, go on YouTube and try to find that out. Um, have a LinkedIn set. Once that is done, be aware of what it is that you want. Right? Do you feel if you're not going to get coaching services and you need the help and you don't feel confident to go CRO sponsor level, fine. Then you want site level. How far do you want to travel out? Or are you willing to travel out? Get that circumference, right? So if you're at a site level, more than likely LinkedIn won't be as helpful when it comes to recruitment, right? This might have to do more of cold calling and actually Googling, the mileage as to how far you're willing to go out. So say somebody's in California, they only want to be able to travel out maybe max 10 miles. So Google clinical research sites 10 miles from me, you'll have a list, start cold calling, go from there. Obviously, if that is not the case and nobody's hiring, well, then you have to reassess your situation, right? And maybe you're going to have to consider a university nearby, a medical institution, etc. Um, Listing everybody that's in your sphere. Now, if you're open to remote, obviously, then coming down and looking and researching all the companies that you are open to reaching out to. So most people for clinical research, they stick to the CROs, right? Which is PPD with Thermo Fisher. You have IQVIA, right? Or not IQVIA, right?
IQVIA, yeah.
Okay, yeah, IQVIA,
It used to
uh,
be called Quintiles.
Quintiles. Okay, and then I think there's two or three more. But there's more out there than that, right? You can go into sponsor level that have the lower end positions. So just because you're at sponsor doesn't mean it's too big for you. Like they have lower end positions too that start, so you can start from there as well. I mean, there's just again having your foundation, knowing where you want to go, and then jotting it from there. I think people just go on Google and search immediately, and that works, but
Well, the
you are
problem with most of these people is they see a video or they see a TikTok like CRA,
mhm.
and then they'll go look for CRA jobs, and they think that's all there is.
No,
So
no, no, no,
that's the
no. There's
problem. You gotta
yeah.
educate first, guys.
Yeah.
Educate.
Yeah, go to Dan's videos, find out the roles that are out there, and then if you really want to see your capability, choose, let's say, PPD with Thermo Fisher. Go through their open jobs. Look at the different jobs that are out there. Outside of those roles, get to know the names. What I recommend sometimes is as you are applying to these jobs and get going through them, write down all the titles you're coming across that you fit for, right? So every time you get to a new company, you can search those titles as well, right? And if they have them, boom, you have more opportunity there. But again, everybody has different titles. I know that at some medical institutions, I've seen before that they post for a CRC position. When you read it, it's very much a CRA role. It's an in-house CRA role,
Right.
right? So, again, it's just
And every
going
company
through.
is different.
Every
Every
company is
company
different.
has like a title. So like the one you brought up, clinical trial coordinator. Okay, I've seen that before. You were saying that's like a remote CRC. I've seen that title before be a research assistant for a CRO. I've seen that title be a site startup specialist for a pharma.
Mhm.
Like they just interchange these words. So it doesn't matter what the title is. It's the
Just look
job.
at it, take the opportunity, make the jump. Even like I said, even if you don't meet 20% of that job description, but you meet 80%, just apply. What's the worst thing you're
I
gonna
would
do?
flip
You
it.
yeah, just
Meet
get a
20% of it.
well,
Apply.
there you go. Well, there you go. And then who cares what's going to happen? You're going to get rejected. You coming in this industry, whether you're out of it and or in it, you're still going to get rejected. I've had clients that have been CRCs for 15 years get rejected. Okay, it's not because you don't, always isn't the meet the qualification. Sometimes you're just going up against other people that are slightly more qualified. Doesn't mean you're not a competitive applicant, right? So again, just so many scenarios and situations. People naturally just kind of cut themselves down right away to avoid the rejection part. But hey, you know what? It's gonna happen. You can't avoid it. So just put yourself in the line of fire, get burned real quick, and then that's it. One and done.
Get
Just
burned.
real quick. I
I
mean,
like that.
you know how many times I got rejected? I think there was one job before I got the position I have, well, with the company I have, because I'm not in the same position anymore. But when I started, but there was a company in Austin, Texas, that I was extremely excited for. It was going to be a major role, and they were willing to give me that opportunity. This is the one that I told you where I went. I, I did serious research. I even went into Nasdaq to understand the technical
Oh,
aspect.
yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
I blew them away in the interview. I was positive I had it down. And then poof, like I didn't even hear back.
What, you
I
didn't
think
even hear back?
no, no,
They
no. I
probably
didn't
went out of business. No, are they still
no, no,
around?
no, they're still there. They're still there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they're still there.
maybe the project they were gonna put you on got canceled or something.
No, no, no. It still went.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Well,
just trying to
actually,
make you feel better,
yeah,
Ashley,
no, no, no.
sorry.
Well, what happened was the person that was gonna hire me was this CEO. It was huge. She's from New York, and she was a geneticist. The thing is, the person in between gave me the wrong time frame. She said I confirmed with her that it was Central Time. She said
Mm.
yes. Well, the geneticist said it was supposed to be Eastern, so I obviously didn't show up. Right, I didn't show up, and on the time that she was there, and so I ended up getting the person in the middle, and she's like, "Oh, well, we'll figure it out." And I guess the geneticist got really upset that I didn't show, so
Yeah,
she didn't give me.
CEO's like, "Screw this," you know?
Yeah, but it wasn't my fault, you know what I mean?
No.
So, obviously, I got really, butthurt with
Wow.
that one because I wanted it so bad.
They missed out
But,
on a good one.
yeah,
They
well,
missed out on a
they
good
follow
one.
me on LinkedIn, so I'm sure they they see me,
And they
but they
try to
missed
get
out
you
on
back now, but it's the triple. And you know
yeah.
what? Being at a big CRO is probably teaching you a lot more than
Oh yeah,
what you would
I
have
I
learned there.
love I love the company I work for. I don't ever see myself leaving unless, personal passion project really throws off the ground. But for the
Mm.
most part, there's just so much room and opportunity to grow. So no, strategy, right? Always having the strategy, regardless of the pay, always being sure about where you want to go, right? So yeah.
Last thing I wanted to ask you
Hmm.
was, well, there's so many more things, but we have to.
Yeah.
This is why we keep having you back on. This is why we have you teach the interns in the CRA Academy, CRC Academy, and you do it separately on your AM approach. And by the way, we got to. Okay, look, do you guys see Ashley's background? You see this Latinos and Clinical Research behind her drinking coffee?
Right here, right
Do
here.
you
Oh,
see
you can't
this?
see my finger.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
it's
right
right
there.
there.
Latinos Clinical Research. This is free networking, guys, for anybody. You don't need to be Latino. I'm not Latino. I look it, but I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm in it. Like Chris is in it. He's white as you can be. We have people from all parts of the world
Yeah.
joining us. This is free networking. Ashley's one of the co-founders. We have guests every month on Zooms. It's all free,
Open for questions.
open for hiring.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, everything, everything.
I just want to give that plug in there. Okay, you
Yeah.
go back to drink your coffee. My next question was this, Ashley. I just wanted to show that picture behind you.
Yeah.
My last one before we get you on again.
Mhm.
I interviewed a senior CRA a couple months ago.
Mhm.
She said she's fed up with the industry. She said one of the unintended consequences of being so busy and being understaffed is the CROs and sponsors are extending they're delaying their promises to their senior CRAs because it's tough to be a senior CRA. It's tough to be a CRA, period. So they're saying, hey, you know what? I know we told you you'd get that promotion, but we're just so short staffed and we got this new project. Can you just do one more study? Like, and then,
Wow.
but this has been going on since the pandemic.
Hmm.
So it's not just this person I interviewed, and she was public about it too.
Yeah.
It's many. I'm hearing the same
Did
thing.
she
Like they
say? Did
told
she say
me,
which company she was at?
I don't
No.
want to say the wrong one because in my
Okay.
head they're all similar.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even matter. It was a big CRO.
Yeah.
It could be one of the big four. I can't remember. Uh, but they're being promised lead CRA, CTM, whatever, and then they're just like, hey, just one more, and this is leading to turnover in the
Mhm.
industry, and I'm sure you're seeing a lot of those kind of people reaching out to you. But
Mhm.
what do you say to that person who's in that situation? They're like, you know what? I don't want to wait like one more year, and they're gonna move now. They're gonna
Mhm.
go interview. So now, like, they want to talk to Ashley about it.
Mhm. Oh, so like what? I guess get my
What's
advice on
their
what to
advice?
do.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, again, it's like it's strategy, right? So it's being clear in advance. So for me personally, and I've been like this everywhere I work. If I already feel in a place where I'm not being appreciated with my work, I'm not content, etc., and I've already actively approached my management team about it, right? And I've listed out all the things that I've done, and also again being real with yourself. How valuable are you, right? So not I don't know the senior CRA, so this is not directly to her or anything, but just in general. So it's one thing to be a senior role because you're very, very good. And it's another thing being a senior role that you've just kind of like leveled into over the years, right? You can still be good, but not great, right? So I feel like sometimes some companies you know, at least where I'm at, because I'm working with senior CRAs and I've seen them leveled up very fast. So I don't know if that was I don't think it was the company I'm at, but um, I've seen it to where they're trying to value you, right? Especially if you're very very good, they don't want to lose you. They're very well aware of what's happening out there. Like people are trying to vet other people from other companies and bring them on board. So what I would just suggest is if you've already approached that management team about that and they're not weighing in your favor, right? And you're already giving them like, hey, like I'm not happy. Don't say, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. Don't do that because you're already setting yourself up, right? You go apply, be applying, but apply all these other companies, especially right now in this economy. Like it's hard for those that have no background experience. There's a lot of competition there. But when you're in senior level, whether you're RSM senior, CRA, you're going to get called very, very quickly, right? That's just a given. So apply, see what's out there, be very clear again with what you want, what your expectations are from that company, um, what your expectations are in general for your study, your situation where you're previously working at, and being clear why you want to transition out, right? And if they're giving you that opportunity and they're pretty much coming to you and saying, well, this is how we'll set you up, they really want you, then you obviously have two options. You have one where you can take that offer letter, go back to your management, say, hey, this is what I have, and give them the opportunity to kind of work with you. But for me, a red sign is when you're already coming to your management team and they're kind of shooing you off like, oh yeah, 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 we'll do it later. For me that's already neglect. That's what I feel. Management has and they should be trained to kind of notice already when an employee is not feeling valued, and they should it's I feel like it's their job, especially my manager's amazing. He's always making sure that I know that he has my back and he's going to elevate me if I need it,
You
right?
think we can get him on the show?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I can definitely ask him.
Oh,
I can
yes.
Yeah, I can ask him.
Thank you.
But he's an amazing manager, and I'm very very grateful for him. And because of that though, it's just like if you don't have a manager like that, there's there's some level there that is just, missing. So for me personally, if I was in that situation, if I came across another company that was pretty much saying, "Well, we'll do this for you, we'll do that for you, blah 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 blah," because you're already being clear up front, I would take it because what's going to happen is if that is just going to be something to band-aid over an issue, right? If you stay with your next company, they're going to move you up like you want. What's going to happen the next time you're unhappy, right? Well, how are they going to handle it? You're going to have to go and do more work to prove yourself and your worthiness
Yeah.
to move like it doesn't make any sense. If you're a senior and you've been there and you've done the work and they need you, they should know better and they should be there for you, right? This is what I'm
And they
saying,
are
company
getting better.
culture.
For the most part, they are getting better out of
Yeah.
necessity. But
Hmm.
there's always, some that
Little in
are,
between.
mhm, maybe drop it.
Yeah.
Some are dropping the ball even in the good companies.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, because there's a lot happening, a lot of work going around, and for
Mhm.
sure. But again, strategy. You need to be clear about what you want and know your like your hard limits. Like I know mine, right? So.
And then network. You never
Mhm.
know. Show up on a Latinos in Clanker Research uh, live meeting on Zoom.
Mhm.
You can only get there if you subscribe to our newsletter, latinosinClinkerresearch.com.
Mhm.
Um, and other places like on live streams where I'm live streaming on LinkedIn. Brad, there's people in the comments that are commenting that are in charge of hiring.
Yeah, it's that, and then also know that LICR is currently working with CROs and sponsors at the moment to facilitate, applications. So become a member, right? Join us on LinkedIn and go to the website, actually subscribe. And should we have any openings come up that we'll be posting, process through us, and we'll fast track you into the company, right? So not
Hmm.
as far as getting hired, right? But sending your application in. So, again, there's a huge, huge importance on networking, but even more so affiliating yourself with organizations out there, especially the ones that, really, I mean, I'm huge on if you're not going to charge your members, right? I think that organization has a lot to give. You know what I mean? Because they're there solely to provide to you, right? I say that says a lot about the foundation of the organization and their purpose, right? So come on in. We're free, and we're happy to do what we can to get you started. And yeah.
Thank you, Ashley. Look, everybody go connect with Ashley right now. Her link is underneath the show notes. Links to all of our stuff are in under the video as well and in the show notes, including latinosclinicalresearch.com. So thank you, Ashley. We gotta have you on again and
Yeah,
keep our fingers on the pulse of the clinical research industry job market. It's very important for all levels of experience in this industry. So thank you
sure.
very much.
You're very welcome. Bye,
Like,
everybody.
subscribe, comment, share. Bye bye.